Welcome to episode 597 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight we are continuing our review of Orpheus, Mythos of the World by Padraic column. Thank you all for being here. You can always find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media, on the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal activity, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for being here and listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP, Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting all my shows up there. If you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can also sign up for the Patreon page and get 1 extra episode per week of true paranormal stories from the web at any of the paid membership levels there. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research material to travel expenses in some cases. And that goes for the associated books that will be coming out as well. That will be connected to the show, basically featuring the different accounts that I read of experiences on the show, but in a book format. So that's the plan for future books on that, of that kind there. And tonight we're continuing our look into mythology through this one book here. I will eventually I'll find other books and we'll sort of circle back on this topic, because I think it is good, and not all books will have the same stories in them, or even the same interpretations of the same stories in them. So I think there'll always be something that the show sort of circles back to and reviews a book on mythology here or there. So that's the plan for that. And we were on Greek mythology last time. Keep in mind, some of this can be somewhat graphic at times. But if you just think of this as more of concepts and ideas, that's sort of what I try to do for myself. It helps me anyway. And that's what it's more about, is the idea of concepts and ideas and sort of connections to the world that we all live in, as well as the paranormal in different ways. So getting back to the document here, again, as I always say, these are what I'm reading are summaries of the material that have been generated by AI, and then we talk about them and go from there. So and this next one we're on is actually the namesake of the book in a way. The title of this section is Orpheus, who was apparently a famous divine minstrel, suffered great grief when his young wife, Eurydice, Eurydike, that does not, yeah. Anyway, passed away from a serpent bite and went to the underworld, and that is, of course, sort of the world of the dead, or the that's basically what that is. Says, determined to bring her back, Orpheus went to the cavern Tainaron, Tainaron, which led to the world of the dead, and his music moved the trees to show him the way. So again, this connection to nature and this ability to interact with it through a form of art, in the form of music. At the great gate, Orpheus' lyre playing and that's an instrument, Lyre, astonished the silent guards. Hades and Persephone, we talked about her last time. The rulers of the dead came and listened to his song. Orpheus sang of his love for his wife and his desire to bring her back. Persephone and Hades, remembering their own love, allowed him. That's odd. I didn't think that Persephone actually loved Hades, but okay. Allowed him to pass through the gate. In the underworld, Orpheus' music temporarily stopped the punishments of Tantalos, Sisyphus, Ixion, Tityos, and the daughters of Danaos. All different entities, I'm sure. Different. I'm not familiar with those names. Even even other entities there, other people there, or entities there wept. So Orpheus found his wife among the dead. Hades granted them the unprecedented privilege of leaving together, on the condition that they not look back during the ascent. This is something that comes up over and over again in so many of these, in so many accounts of sort of managing to get out of the afterlife or the world of the dead. Is that it may be possible in some cases, but if you look back, then things do not go well. As they climbed up through the dark cavern, Orpheus thought of all the things he would tell his wife about the world above. Reaching the cavern's opening, Orpheus looked towards the light and turned to call his wife to look, forgetting the condition. In that instant, she slipped back into the gloom with a farewell, falling back to the dead. Orpheus tried to re-enter the underworld, but was denied. He returned to the living world, where birds, trees, and stones befriended him and mourned with him. A savage band killed Orpheus, throwing him into the river along with his lyre. The lyre played mournful notes, and so apparently they beheaded him, and the head sang in response as they floated. So that's, even though, again, going back to these things as ideas, water, you have this introduction of water into the flowing water into this story. And sort of these undead or these spiritual entities that are associated or attached to it or even in it. It says, now dead, Orpheus went straight to the underworld, where he was reunited with his wife beyond the reach of anyone's torments. So that's the end of that section there. So that's quite the story there, and that, yeah, exactly. Looking at the chat here, can I buy? Yes, exactly. DG in the chat. That's how I feel with some of these, or at least some other. I don't know. Can I buy a vowel, please? Yeah. I forgot to mention too at the beginning of the show. I apologize for all the mispronunciations that I will make in these shows, as I always do. Persephone always reminded me of Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. Yep. A Pillar of Salt. Yeah. Other references there from Jay in the chat. Yeah. Stockholm Syndrome or no? Possibly with Persephone. Yeah. So yeah, quite the story there, and again, connections to the afterlife and water and all those different things that come up in so many accounts of. And just for anyone that doesn't sort of may wonder what I'm talking about there with water, it's said that running water can generate enough energy that entities or spirits can use to manifest in different ways. And that's only one sort of connection to that. That's sort of like the basic one in the paranormal sense, I think, in a way. But it's also said to be able to stop or deny entities access to areas, depending on what folklore or mythology you want to go into. So there's a lot associated with water and the flowing of it, and life and death and all those things. So, looking at the chat here, we could do that. That's that Derek and I, DJ in the chat says that Derek and I should do a show on that. Someday maybe. It's just really difficult with his working schedule. He's always really busy, and but maybe someday we will do that. We still have one other episode that we want to do at some point too, but we'll get there when we can. So, let me see. Let me get on to the next one here. This next story is Dionysus is the title of this one. A beautiful youth wearing a purple cloak appeared on a headland overlooking a harbor. I'm guessing that's a cliff, where a ship lay. The Tyrrhenian sea movers. That's sea rovers. That's TYRRHENIAN. Sea rovers on the ship planned to seize him for ransom or slavery. They brought the unresisting youth aboard in bonds. The helmsman warned that the captive was an Olympian and should be freed, but the ship's master mocked him. So here you have this basically deity, or somewhat semi-deity, semi-divine entity here, and the person that is supposed to steer the ship, supposed to kind of know what's going on, is saying you should not do this, and the captain of the ship is ignoring him. So that's never a good start to a story for those people. It says, as they sailed, the sea rovers marveled at strange things. Fragrant wine pouring on the deck, ivy and vines growing on the ship. Suddenly, a lion appeared, seizing and flinging the ship's master into the sea. The terrified sailors leapt overboard. The youth, revealed as Dionysus, told the remaining helmsman that the others had become dolphins. Dionysus was the son of Zeus and Semele, Semele, from Zeus' thigh after Semele was consumed by Zeus's radiance. I don't know what that means, but again, these are probably some of these references are probably to other myths that are also out there. But again, it's sort of like a connected universe. Think of like Marvel or DC. There's all these stories, and you can never keep track of all of them because there's just so many. Dionysus was raised by mountain nymphs, fed on ambrosia and nectar, so food and wine or drink of the gods there in that Greek mythology. Says as a wreath-crowned youth, he wandered with these nymphs and King Lycourgos, Lykourgos, chased them. Lycourgos was blinded and hated by the gods. So again, anytime you send anyone goes after this Dionysus, things do not go well for them. The ship brought Dionysus to Naxos, Naxos, where he wed Ariadne. I feel like I've heard that before. He visited Egypt and India, teaching viticulture. I'm not sure what that is. I have to look it up. And winemaking. Women followed him in frenzied revels. Okay. Returning to Thebes in a leopard-drawn cart, Dionysus claimed to be Senella's son. King Pentheus, Senella's grandson, denounced him as an impostor. Pentheus banned vines and wine in Thebes, ignoring his father's warning. He imprisoned Dionysus and followed the secret reveling Theban women, climbing a pine to spy on them. The frenzied women, including Pentheus' mother, Agave, Agave, spotted him. Not recognizing Pentheus, they tore him to pieces. That's not good. Thus Dionysus triumphed where his mother Semele had perished. I don't know what all that last part means, but does sort of go to the idea of if anyone sort of gets a sense of these other entities being around, you might want to listen to them just in case. So, DJ in the chat says purple usually signifies magic. Okay. And Ricky in the chat says viticulture is Latin vitis culture. Okay, vine growing. So it seems like it's associated with wine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Ricky. There. And it's the cultivation and harvesting of grapes. I feel like I'd heard that word before, but I was not placing it. So thank you for that help there on the spot in the chat. Yeah. So again, and you hear that in other accounts of sort of these different divine entities as well. Maybe not to that extreme in the story there, but when someone senses that they may be dealing with more than just a regular person, DJ says they're just getting boozy. When you have these entities that show up, and if you get a sense that there may be more than what they appear to be, you might want to be careful and of course, as with everybody, I mean, you would hopefully treat them with respect, but but then that story there seems to show what can happen if people don't listen to any kind of warnings given by other people that maybe are more sensitive than they are. That's sort of what I'm getting out of it. I could be wrong on that, but it seems like it's something I've heard of in other accounts as well. So, neat one there. But let's see here how long the next section is, and we'll figure out if we can go with the next one or not. And well, we got like 6 minutes, so that's a big one though. That's the last one. So we'll see what we can do here. Oh no, there's one more after. Okay, so it's not quite as long as I thought. This next one is the title is Apollo. It says the swan sings of Apollo as it alights on the banks of the river Peneus, Benios, and the minstrel sings of him first and last. Apollo and his sister Artemis were the children of Leto and Zeus. One thing I have noticed in a lot of mythology, unfortunately, Zeus basically went after many women, and whether they wanted him to or not, and so he has there's many people, many other entities associated with him, and so he has children by many of these other entities, or people, even in some cases. Now I lost my spot. So Leto wandered, and that's Leto, so I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Leto wandered the earth seeking a birthplace, as Hera withheld help out of anger. Leto, and that's one of his Zeus's other wives there. Or I'm not sure if they're all wives or not, but anyway. Leto came to Delos, Delos, and begged the island for a place to give birth. Delos feared the children would be ashamed of the hard, rocky island and overturn it into the sea. Leto swore an oath by the river Styx that her son would build a temple on Delos, so the island agreed. Here again, you have this idea of places or objects having sentience and giving permission. So that's something that pops up again as well in a lot of mythology around the world. Apollo and Artemis, and I do think that I wonder about that in some cases if it really is the way it is in a lot of places, especially sacred spots. Apollo and Artemis were born on Delos. Many goddesses attended and cared for the infants. Themis fed Apollo ambrosia and nectar, and again, that's food and drink of the gods. After tasting the divine food, Apollo sprang from his nurse's arms, spoke, and caused Delos to blossom with golden light. He took up the bow and lyre, and again, that's a musical instrument. Later, receiving arrows from Hephaestus, blacksmith, basically, made a lot of objects and other things for the gods there. Apollo slew the monsters, Python and Typhon, with his silver bow and arrows. In the Vale of Tempe, that's so ironic. Just did an episode about a town in Arizona, that same name, same spelling anyway. I'm guessing that's a different place with that name. Apollo, somewhere probably in Greece. Apollo saw the maiden Daphne, daughter of Earth and the river Peneus. He called to her, but she fled, having vowed to belong to no god or man. And of course, this is what a lot of these gods do. Unfortunately, Apollo chased Daphne down the Mount Ossa. She prayed to Mother Earth for escape as he chased her, and she was transformed into a laurel tree, her body becoming sap and limbs, and her hair becoming branches and leaves, putting her beyond Apollo's pursuit. Apollo mourned for Daphne, but loved her still as a tree, and he wore her leaves as a laurel leaf, an enduring symbol of his love. So that's where that one ends. That's going back to the mythology there. The transformation of entities into other objects is also a thing, and I wonder if there are other accounts, other stories of how that island came to be an island, or some things are just taken as they are, and so that's what that ends up being. So look at the chat here. DG says gives a clue to offer spirits to those spirits. Yeah. And animals, Zeus, yes, yeah. Zeus was definitely, that's very nice. But anyway, that's all we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you all in the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care.